What's up, everybody? It looks like I am live, which is good. Just give me a sec so that I can confirm and share the stream with our tribe. Here we go. Just give me a sec, legends. All right, almost there. I've just got to share this with everybody in the UMS app, and then I can get started. I'm going to be talking about when to increase weights. How much should you increase by? How do you know when to increase weights? All that good stuff. All right, so we have had a lot of tribe members recently in the UMS app, recently asking me this question. How do I know when to increase weights? And it's a really good question because if you get it wrong, at best, you won't progress as quickly as you could. And at worst, you can injure yourself really, really badly. And then somewhere in the middle, you can get better at doing the wrong thing. So it's really important to know how to choose your own weight. So I'm gonna break this down into a couple of different categories, and I'll start with when you're an absolute beginner. How do you know when to increase weights when you're a beginner? And really, you won't know how to increase weights when you're fresh to weightlifting, fresh to lifting, and you're just starting off. So what I recommend people do is, in my experience, when people start lifting, most people lift far too light. It's usually people that have been lifting for a little while and that have come and trained with me, and they go too heavy, and I'll talk about that in a sec. So usually for beginners, they grab weights that are too light and they give it a try and they throw the weights around, and I say, how was that? And they go, oh no, it's okay. And they don't know what answer to give. They don't know to say, oh, it was too heavy, it felt good, I felt my muscles, because you've just got no experience with it. And so when you're at that stage, a good program will have a rep range, and we start most people off in the UMS with the 10 to 12 rep range. And so what that means is that you want to achieve failure between 10 to 12 reps, so 10, 11, or 12 reps, and I'll talk about what failure means in a minute as well. And the reason why we do a 10 to 12 rep range for a beginner is because there's an inverse relationship between how many reps you do and how much weight you lift. If you do more reps, you lift less weight. If you do less reps, you lift more weight. So if you were doing a program phase where you were doing 5 sets of 5, which is a really common strength training protocol, you would be lifting far heavier weight than if you were doing a program where you were doing 4 sets of 10 to 12. So as a coach, or as somebody that understands how to read a program, that's grassroots. You look at your program, and your program tells you the amount of reps you do, and that dictates sort of how heavy the load's going to be. So you're a beginner. You do your first set, you get 12 reps, and you put the weight down and you think, oh, I wonder if I should go up in weight. You probably should. You definitely should test the weight. Like, I remember when I started weightlifting, and I only started weightlifting, I shouldn't say weightlifting, I'm not talking about Olympic lifting weights, really properly when I got out of the army when I was 34 years old. Before that, I'd lifted weights, of course, but I'd never followed structured programs. I'd never done it for a long enough period of time. And I was doing programs with my brother Yanni. He was writing the programs back then. And almost every program phase that we did, because we did a series of overload techniques where we were playing around with drop sets and supersets and wave loading and a whole bunch of things that we use in the UMS now. And every single program phase that we did, I didn't even get the weights correct until the third out of fourth week. Like the third week I was choosing the weights okay. Geez, I've got terrible bedhead, don't I? For anybody that doesn't know, it's 5:26 a.m. here in Australia, so I only got out of bed 26 minutes ago. So I haven't done my hair, and I definitely need a haircut. I haven't had a haircut since before Christmas. So Yeah, we used to. It used to take us that long because, like, we'd do the first week, and you'd get to the end of the workout, and you'd think, I really, didn't really dial those weights in, and you'd record your weights, and then you'd go to the next week, and you'd get a little bit better, and then by the third week, I'd really dial it in, and the fourth week was the first week that I'd really come into the workout, really knowing what weights I should be lifting. Now, that's very different now because I've got much more experience with lifting weights, but when you're starting, you can expect that each workout you're going to get a little bit better with knowing how much weight you lift, but only if you record what you lift accurately. And using a PRE or an RPE, it depends on who you are and where you learned it from. I learned PRE, a perceived rate of exertion, meaning on a 1 to 10, 1 is, this was so easy, it was like walking, and 10 is I could barely do 1 rep. It was absolute max effort. So you can write down that you got 12 reps at 40 pounds, and my PRE was, or RPE, rate of perceived exertion, was a 6 out of 10. So that's a good indicator for you to go, okay, well, that was a lighter than what should be set for me. So then once you start getting to that accurate amount weight that you should be lifting for 10 to 12 reps, where you're failing between 10 and 12 reps, let's talk about what failure means. So failure is the inability to perform the concentric phase of the repetition with perfect technique. So the concentric phase of the repetition is the phase where the muscles are shortening during the contraction. The eccentric phase of the repetition is where the muscles are lengthening during the contraction. So in 9 times out of 10, and especially with free weights, the concentric phase is when you're going against gravity. So for example, in a shoulder press, the concentric phase is when you push up, and in a pull-up, the concentric phase is when you pull up. In a squat, the concentric phase is when you stand up, and in a bicep curl, the concentric phase is when you curl the weight towards you, like that. So the inability to maintain perfect technique during the concentric phase means you've failed. So people get this really wrong at the early phases of their training, because beginners fail at a point where they can still bust out several really sloppy and dirty reps. So this is where either working with a training partner or filming yourself at least one set of workout, or working with a coach, is really, really important. Because when you're beginning, you want to know that even though I did 10 reps, the 9th and 10th rep I'd actually failed. As I was doing my chest pressing on the 9th and 10th rep, my shoulders started to come up. I started lifting my bum off the bench. I still got the weight up, so I still went from here to here, but my technique wasn't on point and I failed. So now let's talk about, so we're moving from the absolute beginner phase, we're moving into the trained beginner phase now. So now we've got somebody who's been training for several months, even several years, and who still wouldn't be considered what we'd call an expert trainer or even an intermediate trainer, but they absolutely know their way around a gym, and they know how to do a workout, and they know how to lift weights. So when should you go up in weights at this stage? So let's talk about, at this stage, this person should be doing more of a rep range at around 8 reps. So 8 to 10 reps, or even aiming for 8 reps per set, and maybe even sometimes doing intensification phases, which would be 5 reps or less. And the reason why I say this person should be is that when you get into that trained beginner and above phase, those folks don't benefit as much from higher rep ranges, at least with calisthenics training and raw strength training. For muscle hypertrophy, it's different. You can definitely play around with higher rep ranges. So we'll talk about that later. So now let's talk about, say we're doing an 8 to 10 rep range. When would you know when to go up in weight? Now, as long as you're not failing on your reps, as long as every rep is an accurate rep. And let me clarify one thing. When I say the concentric phase of the rep needs to maintain perfect technique, you can actually lose tempo. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're doing a 3-0-1-0 tempo, which means you're doing a 3-second eccentric, 0-second pause, 1-second concentric, so 1 second pressing, and then a 0-second pause. So it looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. That's a 3-0-1-0 tempo. So if you and you were doing 8 to 10 reps, and you got the 9th rep, and then the 10th rep, it looked like this. If you got that rep without losing technique, that rep still counts. I've never seen anybody get an 11th rep without breaking technique when that happens. When the tempo slows down that much, it's called grinding that last rep out. But the rep still counts as long as the technique was maintained, okay? So let's say you're aiming for 5 sets and you're doing 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps. And in the first workout, you do 5 sets of 8 reps because you do your first set of 8 and you think, well, that's going to be hard to do more than that. I'll try and stay on that. And good progressive overload would be that you would maintain the same amount of reps per set or very close to it. So you would absolutely get between that 8 to 10 rep range for all sets without having to drop weight. That would be really hitting the nail on the head. So let's say you get all 5 sets of 8 reps and let's say you're lifting 50 kilograms or 50 pounds, whatever. It's an arbitrary number. Let's just use the number 50. Then what you would be working towards, because you want to achieve progressive overload in every single workout as long as it's safe. That means that every single workout we want to increase total volume lifted, and total volume lifted can be increased by either increasing reps, increasing sets, or increasing intensity, meaning going up in weight, because all of those things increase the number of the total volume lifted. So total volume lifted, if you did 10 reps at 50 pounds, you just lifted 500 pounds. If I did 5 sets of that, I lifted 2,500 pounds. So if I can lift 2,600 pounds in the next workout, I've achieved progressive overload. So you've done your 5 sets, 8 reps. The next workout, what you would be trying to do is to get 9 reps in the first set, maybe even the second set, maybe even the third set. But you try to get 9 reps for as many sets as you can. When you can't do 9 reps, you drop to 8 reps. And you're recording your reps and sets and everything. So you've got, let's say you got 9, 9, 9, and then 8, 8. And you're recording this. It has to be accurately recorded because you wouldn't try for 10 reps yet, not even in the first set, until you get 9 reps for all 5 sets, because you know that you couldn't maintain 9 reps for all 5 sets. So trying to go to 10 reps straight away would be jumping the gun, and you're going to lose too much strength early on in the workout. You won't be able to maintain strength to maintain quality technique, which means you won't be able to accurately use progressive overload. So you've recorded that you got 9, 9, 9, 8, 8 over your 5 sets. So the next workout you try for 9 for all 5 sets and you get it. And then here's a little bonus tip for you. This is a way to force progression. If you did your 4th set and you got 9 and you thought, oh, that was easy, I reckon I could do 10. You can try for 10 reps in the 5th set. So you'd get 9, 9, 9, 9, 10. There's no problem doing that. You just don't want to do 10 in the first set and then be doing 7 in the last set. That's because that gives you far less volume, and it also teaches your body to fail. And you don't want to teach to fail. You want to teach your body to succeed. So let's say you get 9, 9, 9, 10, and you go, great, I'm going for 10 on the next set, on the next workout, and you get 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 for all 5 sets. Now you increase weight. So I know I've just explained a hell of a lot to get to that point of when do you increase weight. So you've got your rep range, you've got 8 to 10 reps. You've all of a sudden, you've done 5 sets of 10 reps. The next workout, you increase weight. So depending on whether you're lifting with a barbell or dumbbells, let's use that 50 kilo or 50 pound number. It really doesn't matter. You would usually increase weight between 2 and 5% from one workout to the next. If you're training at your upper limit, if you're training at max level and doing 5 sets of 10 reps was like that 5th set was like, and you just got it, then increasing between 2 and 5% in the next workout is going to be enough to significantly challenge you and achieve progressive overload, right? Now it doesn't always happen the same way that I'm describing it, but you always want to be manipulating progressive overload in every single workout. You want to be trying to manipulate progressive overload in every single workout so that you're always moving forward. And if you can't do any of those things, if you find that you plateau, then you try to force progression. There's many ways to force progression safely. My favorites are last set to failure, rest pause in the last set, or adding a 6th set, or in this example, adding a 6th set. To be honest, I very rarely add the 6th set because my workouts are long enough anyway. So let's talk about last set to failure or rest pause. So last set to failure would be that if you grind out that ninth rep or eighth rep or whatever, and you really grind it out, is that you just go for it on that last set. So the last set, you really go for that extra rep, maybe even an extra 1 or 2 reps. And even if you pause between a rep or two and you go for it again, so that's the last set to failure. Rest pause is when you do your last set, you get 8 reps, and then you re-rack the barbell or you put the dumbbells down, you rest 15 seconds or less, so between 10 and 15 seconds, and then you unrack the barbell again or pick up your dumbbells, and then you do another rep, maybe even 2 reps if you can. Put the dumbbells down, put the barbell down, rest another 10 to 15 seconds, then do another rep, and you do that as many times as you can. Now, in my experience, when you've gone to true failure and in the last set, it will be very hard to do that more than 2 or 3 times. But any of those methods add more volume, which will help you force progression and achieve adaptation. Then, if you find that 2 weeks in a row, you can't use progressive overload, meaning you cannot add any volume in any way, you just can't do it, you're most likely, and nothing else has changed. If your sleep patterns are the same, if you haven't been drinking a lot of alcohol, if you're, if everything else in your life is consistent, then you're likely in a state of overreaching, which comes before overtraining, way before it. And when you're in a state of overreaching, it's recommended to do a deload week. And a deload week can be between 5 and 7 days where you do 40% total volume. So instead of doing 5 sets, you do 2 sets. And your body will then adapt. You'll go through super compensation and you'll recover and you'll come back stronger. So that is how you increase weight for a higher rep range. And that's what we call accumulation training, right? Anything over 8 repetitions is what we call accumulation. A lot of people call it hypertrophy training. A lot of people call it muscle building, whatever you want. The more accurate way in strength and conditioning to describe the 2 methods of training is accumulation, where you're accumulating volume on the muscles, accumulating fatigue, or intensification, where you're manipulating the intensity to lift as heavy as you can. And they both have very different responses on the body. Both of them will build muscle, both of them will build strength, but accumulation does more damage to the muscle fibers, builds more muscle mass, and intensification hits the nervous system, challenges the nervous system more and builds more strength. So now let's talk about intensification training and how do you know when to go up in weight. Because intensification training is very different. When you're training intensification, meaning 5 reps or less per set, and usually doing a minimum of 5 sets, that's because most coaches agree that you want to get 25 reps minimum when you're doing intensification training. There's different ways to do it, but when you're doing that, the nervous system remembers the last set that you did most, which means that if you were doing, let's say you're squatting 100 kilos, 220 pounds, and you're doing 5 sets of 5 reps, and you finish the 5th set because the 4th set, it was really hard and you barely got 4 reps. And so on the 5th set, you drop down to 85 kilograms or whatever that is in pounds, 190 pounds, something like that. Then the nervous system remembers that last set and you don't have the same adaptation to it. You would get stronger if what you did was start on 85 kilos or 190 pounds. You did your first set at 85 and you went, that was easy, I'm going to go to 90. Did your second set at 90. That was easy, I'm going to go to 95. 95 kilos, 210 pounds, whatever it is. And then the 4th set, you went, this is feeling good. I'm going to go to 100 kilos, 220 pounds. I'm going to do your 4th and 5th set at 220 pounds. Finishing on that heavier weight, but starting on a lighter weight is much, much better for intensification training. Now, in that example, when do you go up in weight? You would aim to increase total volume lifted. Remember, we talked about that total volume before, rather than increase the max set until all sets are the same. So what I would do in that next set is, instead of in the next week or next workout, whatever it is, instead of starting at 85 kilos, I'd start at 90, but finish at 100. So I might do 90, 90, 95, 95, 100. And then for the next week after that, I might do 90, 95, 95, 100, 100. And then the next week, 95, 95, 100, 100, however, until I get, there's different ways to do it, right? And you can have a plan, and then in the workout, sometimes it goes different, because sometimes you do your warm-up sets and you think, oh shit, this is harder than I thought, and you have to adjust on the fly. But all of those methods they manipulate the total volume lifted in a workout in different ways. So the take home from all of that, and for those of you that have just joined in, when you're doing accumulation training above 8 reps, so you're doing, often accumulation training has a rep range, 8 to 10 reps. And the reason why you do that is because it's hard to accurately get the exact amount of reps you're going to lift for a certain amount of weight when you're lifting higher volume. So often programs are written with a rep range. So let's say you've got 8 to 10 reps. As long as technique doesn't fail in the concentric phase, so the concentric phase, the technique has to be perfect, which means when you're pushing against gravity, you don't lose technique. As soon as you lose technique and you start going like this, that's a failed rep, and you do not count it. It doesn't matter if you got the weight from here to here. If you broke technique, you don't count that rep, because if you count that rep, you're not accurately measuring what you do, and you can't use progressive overload accurately, okay? So the everyone that's watching live as well, say good day, and if you've got any questions, let me know. Hi Bruno, how you going? So with the accumulation training, you want to be able to get all 5 sets of 10 reps of the same weight before you increase weight. And then when you increase weight, you can expect that you'll be doing your sets at 8 reps, and you work on manipulating the reps in each set until you get all 5 sets at 10 reps again, and then you increase weight and you repeat, okay? With intensification training, when you're lifting for max weight and you're doing 5 reps or less per set, so 5 reps per set or 3 reps per set, or wave loading, then your 1-5 method, or these overload techniques that we use in the UMS, when you're doing that, you want to make sure that the last set is the heaviest set, or that all sets are the same sets. Last set, heaviest set, or all sets, same sets. And when you increase weight in intensification training, I always like to plan to increase the weight on the last set, okay? So even if I get all my 5 sets at 100 kilos or 220 pounds, like I said, the next workout I plan to increase weight, but not in the first set, in the last set, or maybe even in the second last set and the last set. And I'll adjust that. What I'll usually do is, I'll usually do my first 3 sets, and on the 3rd set, I'll go, I can do more than this. And then I'll increase weight on the 4th set and then the 5th set. Depending on how easy that was for me, I'll then use that 5th set as my benchmark for what I'm going to start the first set on, okay? And good intensification training, if you really know how much you can lift, a good intensification phase, you'll have a plan for what you're going to lift in the 4th and final week of your mesocycle, and then you'll reverse engineer back what you're going to lift in your first week, and then you calculate that for each workout. Hi Bruno, thank you. So if anybody's got any questions, please hit me up. I'm going to end the stream in about 30 seconds otherwise, and I hope you guys got something out of this. And if you want to see my workouts, I'm making a commitment this year to record all of my workouts. I train 6 days a week, and I'm focusing on, I do like in the UMS, the Unified Movement System that we teach, we do a combination of calisthenics, weights, and stretching or flexibility. So I'm doing calisthenics and weights, but my goals are calisthenics goals. I'm working towards one-arm pull-ups, handstand push-ups, and to maintain a high level of flexibility. And I'm filming all my workouts this year and uploading them to YouTube, so you can see them all on YouTube. I've started on January the 1st, so today I'm about to do my 3rd workout for the year, 3rd resistance training session at least, and flexibility session. And if you want to get all my workouts and you want to get coaching and programs and all that stuff, you can come and join the UMS Tribe membership, where I write custom programs for people and provide coaching within our app. So go to unitygym.com if you want to check that out. And if you like this and you just want to join into my live streams every day, I'm doing this every day at this time, or I started 30 minutes ago, then subscribe to the channel so you get a notification. Click the notification bell so you get notified when I go live Monday to Friday and when I post my workouts daily. And then, of course, on top of all of that, we post shorts and long form videos answering questions, things like how do you fix golfer's elbow, or how do you fix slap tears, or how do you get better at the middle splits, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you again tomorrow.